Hello and welcome to our first podcast about all things relating to the greatest team of all, the Geelong Football Club. My name is Brian Coppock and with me is another that bleeds blue and white, Luke Young. Hello, Luke.
How you going, man?
Yeah, I am great and excited for tonight. So tonight we're going to talk about the three issues that seem to be polarising Cat supporters at the moment. We thought we'd share our thoughts and sentiments. First of all, Chris Scott, the 2011 Premiership coach, has caused much discussion among the Geelong supporters. Luke, can you share your thoughts about Chris Scott with the listeners?
I thought we were going to start with a nice one, but all right, we'll start with Chris Scott. I don't like him. The bloke bothers me. His coaching style bothers me. And he's 2011 Premiership coach, but I think my dog could have sat in that coaching chair in 2011 and coached the Premiership. You know, like don't get me wrong. He's not the worst coach in ever. We won't mention Gary Ablett, but shots fired. But yeah, he has his plans, and he seems to be unable to in-game shuffle those plans to fix things, other than let's put danger forward, and then the way he carries on in the box like a goose, that pisses me off. That's my views on Chris. You got any questions?
Well, first, I love that patch in the box. I grew up, and that is quite refreshing. Well, I don't mind it. I'd much rather that than seeing the raw emotion and seeing that he actually cares. But for me, one thing I'd like to share with our audience is that most of my comments and opinions are based on evidence, right? Yep. Because without facts or stats, you're just a flog with an opinion. All right. So first of all,
I've got an opinion.
First of all, I just want to debunk that first myth that Chris Scott inherited a premiership team. I've heard that anyone could have coached that team, and you've said it as well. So, and I'm going to say it's simply not true. Okay. Considering that in 2010 we were belted by Collingwood in the preliminary final, that debunks it straight away. Bomber couldn't do it in 2010. What makes anyone think he would in 2011? Secondly, Geelong lost one of the greatest players of the modern era in Gary Ablett, and our most courageous and arguably Geelong's toughest player of the AFL era, 2009 Premiership hero Max Rook, both at the end of 2010. Thirdly, Geelong were considered too old and too slow to win that Premiership in 2011 by most footy experts. For Geelong to finish top four, that was a surprise to most. And both The Age and Herald Sun writers interviewed Jimmy Bartel before the finals about that very issue. And lastly, the 2011 grand final itself. His selections of youngsters, Duncan and Christensen, were absolutely spot on, as both made exceptional contributions within the game. The mark of Alan Christensen between those two Collingwood blokes on the wing was just fantastic, and it pretty much changed the momentum of the game. We were also trailing at quarter time after Cloak went into beast mode. He switched the defenders of Lonigan and Taylor. And then we lost Pods Adley before half-time. His move of putting Jimmy Bartel at centre-half forward was an absolute masterstroke of coaching and ultimately won us the game. So all those out there that think he inherited a flag, you are just wrong. Now, since Chris Scott has been coach, it's the highest winning percentage of any coach to have coached 100 or more AFL games, 100 or more games in AFL VFL history, and that's 73% win-loss ratio.
What's his
next highest current coach?
What's his final?
Yeah. The next highest current coach is John Long White, 69%. Chris Scott has also managed to keep Geelong in the finals every year bar one. Geelong have also finished in the top four in 5 of his 7 years in charge. His lowest ever finish being 10th. Now, considering the falls of previous premiers, Brisbane, Port Adelaide, West Coast and the Bulldogs, and then of contenders St Kilda and Fremantle, his coaching results are really astounding. Consider that most premiership teams have had an above average or an elite ruckman. Think McAvoy, Keating, Lade, and we had that with Ottens in 2011. But since he retired, we have not had what you would call a quality ruckman at the club, apart from, say, Smith, which we can debate about his credentials another time. And we have not drafted one player in Chris Scott's tenure that's become All-Australian. Now, my belief is that since 2011, the quality of our list has diminished and that the coaching staff are the main reason we've been fighting deep in September for premiership glory. So, Chris Scott, I salute you and keep up the great work.
Does he wash your car, man?
No, as I said, these are all facts.
I'll take some of those points, man. I'll take some of those points. But things like Christensen and Duncan, if they were at any club, they would get games. As young players, they were gun young players. They would have got games. So, yeah, he selected them, but it's not like they were out of the blue players. I believe that I haven't watched the 2011 Grand Final for a long time, so I'm gonna hold my hands up there and go, this is going off memory. Podsy Adley going down in that Grand Final changed the momentum, and they were stuck with Nick Maxwell not having anybody to play on. So putting Bartel forward, I'm going to give you that because Nick Maxwell couldn't deal with him. But then Tom Hawkins went into beast mode, and we'll talk about that later, and essentially won us that game.
And I agree with that.
And in terms of you've made the point that we haven't drafted any, or none of our draftees have turned out to be superstars. Could that be down to the coaching? I don't know. I think it might be. I think a good coach can coach through those, bring people up from that next level to elite. And Bomber Thompson did that with players like Joel Corey, who was a high draft pick, but we weren't sure about him. And then Bomber Thompson got hold of him and took him to the next level. Chris Scott doesn't seem to really know how to do that. And he keeps turning to the same players. I'm sick of seeing Murdoch in and out of the team. Like, all right, whatever your thoughts are on Murdoch, I think he does a job. He's okay. But Chris Scott obviously doesn't have any faith in what he's coached into some of those younger players, and he keeps picking Murdoch. And it's not just this year with the injuries. It was last year as well.
Murdoch.
Yeah, we keep seeing these same names come rolling through, and that sort of goes back to mine. Well, does he have the ability to go, all right, we need to change something massively here and try something new? I don't know. That being said, bringing in Asava Radaglia seems to have been a masterstroke, because I watched him down in Corio and I thought, enjoy your day in the sun, kid, because you never get in a game. You couldn't get anywhere near it. Then he come out in the first round and I was like, I must have been drunk.
Yeah. Well, with this, I think also with Bomber Thompson's tenure, he got lucky with picks. Like we got sold at 7, and the father-son rule was changed because we got Hawkins at that later draft pick under the father-son. Now, if the father-son rule was as it was today, Tom Hawkins would have been our first pick, and then Selwood may have been gone. So we're quite lucky there. Also with the picks of Bartel, was it Kelly, Johnson, and Ablett all out of that same draft. We've picked up, 3 All-Australians in the one draft. But since then, our picks have been low. So what Chris Scott has had to work with has not been elite talent. And he's been able, as the ages list, we haven't fallen back and had to get the top 10 picks that every other club has been able to do. So Stephen Wells has done great in recruiting competent players, but Chris Scott hasn't had any elite youth come through since he's been coach.
Yeah.
And you look at what we did with Gary Ablett. The 2 compensation picks that we had with him, they're both gone. Josh Caddy and Billy Smets.
We flushed that, didn't we?
Yeah. But then we could talk about Stephen Wells at a later date. Anyway, we'll move on to our next topic.
Bomber Thompson washes your car. That's how I feel about Stephen Wells.
No, I just look at Chris Scott's record, and I think it's outstanding. We've fallen short a few times in the finals, but to be honest, I wasn't
I wasn't confident that we'd beat Adelaide in Adelaide last year. I wasn't confident that we'd beat Sydney in Sydney. I was confident we'd beat Richmond because we used to always beat Richmond, so that was a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
The previous year, Sydney was far better team and smashed us. We've been beaten by better teams with more talent. And Chris Scott has kept us in games. He's got us to the top. And what's beautiful about it is that all those players now have experienced finals. So when we do get a bit more young talent that we're seeing come through, like Redick Leah, like Tom Stewart, like Kolodajny, who's coming on, those guys they've experienced finals now. So I think what he's done is just been fantastic.
Yeah, I think that I think one of the things that bothers me is, well, not bothers me, that sort of the stark contrast, I think, between Bomber and Chris Scott is that we had a playing style under Bomber. Bomber come in and he said, right, we're going to play helter-skelter football, fast, down the middle, this. And we may have patches of identities of what we play under Chris Scott, but it seems like it falls apart after a couple of games. And I don't know, I don't feel like we have that identity under Chris Scott. I don't think he has the coaching philosophy that Bomber did. And Bomber maybe that, they're two different coaches in that Bomber maybe that hired gun. He comes in for however many years with his style, gets the players he wants and gets success or doesn't and then nicks off. And Chris Scott maybe your Alex Ferguson who hangs around and just slowly builds. I mean, I don't know how many years he's been in there now. 8?
He's been 7.
7, yeah.
This is his 8th year.
So I'd think that we're at a point where I feel like we're ready to accept mediocrity. Not mediocrity, but not being the best.
We're not Collingwood.
Well, people say, Chris Scott, he's doing okay, he's doing this and that. But we got to a point in our club, and it wasn't just Bomber Thompson, it was Brian Cook and it was Frank Costa, and they said, we only accept the absolute. We are the best team in the competition. Take us on. And I don't feel like we have that anymore.
Yeah. No, I understand your point there as well. Well, we'll move on to our next topic, and that's the often maligned Tom Hawkins. Now, we see on social media and discussions with friends and family that there is a significant portion of the Geelong faithful that are not happy with him, and this has been the case for some time. What are your thoughts?
Look, I love Tommy. I love him. He won us the 2011 grand final. Tommy, he can do whatever he wants. But no, in all seriousness, I think Tommy's role's changed, and a lot of people haven't sort of picked up on that. I think that back injury that he had meant that he had to change his game. So now he's our workhorse now. He's doing a lot more up the ground, and we're feeding space back for Menegola, Menzel, Danger when he's up there, Yaz, maybe. So I think, I had a look at his stats. If I can be a little bit unprofessional and bring them up, I have them here. I only have one screen, so.
Yeah.
So I've been having a look at his stats. And so his goals over his career, average goals, excuse me. He hit a purple patch between 2011 and 2016, where he's averaging around 2.3 to 2.8 goals a game. That was when he was our key man. He was it, he was one out in the forward line and he was kicking goals. He dropped back now to that 1.6, 1.8, which he was leading up to 2011. But his marks are actually climbing and his goal assists are actually climbing. So that says to me that his role changed. And I think that's happened with injury. And I think he cops a lot of stick because he works hard, he makes space for other players, and he gets up the ground. That's my view on what Tommy is. I think he's super important to us this year, especially while the big Sacs learn how to play.
Yeah, just to touch on that, his role has definitely changed. He's playing higher up the ground. And what I like about that is he's majority of the time, he does have his brain phase, but a majority of the time he's an elite field kick. So when the ball's in his hands...
Clever. I never said he was smart.
Oh yeah, no, no. But I just what again from from other supporters that I hear, they want him to play in the goal square and lead out from the goal square. Well, he's an elite field kick. So when he gets the ball up the ground, and I'm going to go through some stats as well, and it's going to show you how important he is to Geelong. But firstly, let's consider his playing career so far. He's a 2-time premiership player, All-Australian, Carnegie Greaves medalist, 6-time leading goal kicker at Geelong, and that's the only. There's only there's only 2 others to do that at Geelong. He's kicked 448 goals, which is 4th on the all-time at Geelong, only 4 behind Stevie J in 3rd. He's played 217 games, which is 29th most as a Cat. Now, he's going to be a Geelong Hall of Fame player with these accomplishments alone, let alone for the rest of his career. And for those with short memories, as we said, he was actually tied for 3rd place in the Norm Smith medal voting in the 2011 Premiership, where he destroyed the Pies in the second half.
Yeah.
So hearing the negatives spoken about a future Hall of Famer of our club not only frustrates me, it actually disgusts me. Now, Tom's output this year, it's been above average. He may not have kicked the amount of goals that we have seen from him in the past, but his role has changed. And he is now the leader of an inexperienced but efficient forward line. That's ranked number 5 in the league for scores per forward 50 entries. Now, considering how young our forward line is, and he's the leader of it, that's really good. Also consider that before the GWS game, the Cats were ranked last for centre clearances and for clearance discrepancies. So we had the greatest differential between winning and losing clearances. Now, and they currently sit 10th in the league for inside 50s. So he's not getting the supply that he was in the past. It's just not coming down the forward line as much. Now, however, Hawkins is ranked 7th among key forwards for score involvements per game. He's 16th among all forwards and 28th in the league. So he's 28th in the league for score involvements. Now, that's elite.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He's also ranked 3rd among key forwards for contested marks and 5th overall in the league. I think it's Jeremy McGovern and the young fella from North Melbourne, Mason Wood, that are above him that aren't key forwards. He's also ranked 5th overall for marks inside forward 50. Now, with Hawkins in the side this year, we averaged 95 points per game, and without him, it's 75. So it's a 20-point differential in our forward line when he's in there for when he's out. So the big fella's providing an elite option in the forward line. He takes the best defender each week, and he's a major contributor to the scoreboard, either by kicking goals himself or being involved. So unless someone can provide an argument based on facts that says Geelong are better off without him, Big Tom Hawk, keep it up because you're doing fine.
Yeah. Nah, those people can piss off. My mum calls him crazy eyes because his eyes are too close together and he looks like he's crazy. But I love Tommy. He can come and stay at my house.
And for what he did in the grand final too.
That's it, exactly. Yeah. He came my bed for that.
He's forever my hero.
I think also the other thing we need to consider with Tommy is that the game, he's not, no one's expecting it to be Buddy Franklin. Buddy Franklin's going to go down as, in the same breath as Carey and all those. Tommy's not at that level. Tommy is a great Geelong player. And the way the game is being played at the minute with, essentially 36 people in and around the ball makes it really hard for a bloke in the forward line to lead up and take marks and kick bags of goals.
Those days are gone.
So he's actually, they are. You need to be able to take big pack marks. Tommy's never been a big pack mark kind of guy. He's always been a leader.
No, but he monsters one-on-one.
Yeah, and monsters one-on-one, yeah. So his role's changed. I'm perfectly comfortable with what he's doing, and I'd be pretty disgusted if they dropped him, to be honest.
Oh, they could drop him.
And then we can go back to my rant about Chris Scott, and it'll get worse.
If he drops him, I'll jump on that Chris Scott bandwagon, but up until then. All right. The final topic for this show is Gary Ablett. His return to the club has provided much debate about amongst our brethren. Once again, let us know what you think.
All right. So when it was first talked about that Gaz would come back, I didn't even care what his output would be. He's a Geelong. The Ablett name is synonymous with Geelong. I wanted to see him finish his career at Geelong. So from a purely romantic view, I wanted Ablett. I didn't care if he sat in the forward pocket and snagged a goal a game and did bugger all. didn't bother me one. The fact that he's come into the side and he's still getting the amount of possessions he's getting, perfect. He's an ex-AFL captain, so he's got those leadership skills. The Suns will question how good they were, but I will question how good the Suns' structure is every day of the week. So having him in and around those young midfielders that we're bringing through will be absolutely invaluable. And, you know, we were able in that, it was the Hawthorn game, I think, where the one where he pinged his hammy. No, that was West Coast. They started,
West Coast.
Yeah. Him, like, just marauding off half back. He changed the game. He is still a player in the AFL. And we've got to be smarter about the way we manage him. You know, he's 34. He's got dodgy hamstrings. He can't be playing full games in the midfield all the time, or he'll just keep getting injured. So we've got to be smart about the way we move him through the middle. But I think Tim Kelly's emergence will help us.
Menegola as well.
Menegola's another story. I have my moments with Menegola. It's a love-hate relationship. He's all right. But you're right. We've got a bunch of those midfielders now that can go through. So Gaz doesn't need to be playing, you know, the whole game in the midfield. And I think we saw that against Collingwood because he played most of it half forward and just roamed up the ground. And he's the kind of player you can go, Gaz, you start here, get your hands on the footy, and he will start delivering blokes who are playing at a full forward because he can unpick those defences where everybody's back.
Well, for me, it was a great decision for Geelong to bring him back. The concern about his fitness and being injury-prone, that's misguided. He averaged just under 16 games a year at the Gold Coast, and he played 0 finals in his time there. On numerous occasions, he's finished the season early to get surgery, so that lowers his numbers as well. And due to the Suns not being a finals chance, no one risks going into the last 3-4 games of the year if they're carrying an injury, if they can get it fixed, early and then prepare for next year's preseason. So it's misguided, the opinions of him with his injuries. What do I have next? Second concern that I hear is that he's too old. Well, ladies and gents, the fossil, he won the Gold Coast Best and Fairest last year from 14 games ahead of Lynch, May and Riscatelli, all quality footballers in their own right. Third concern that I've heard is, but we got rid of Bartel, we got rid of Stokes, Kelly, Stevie J. It's hypocritical of the club to bring in a veteran. Well, none of the above players performed at Ablett's level in their last years, and age is not a barrier, performance is, and that's why those players have moved on. Last of all...
Also, it's different. Gaz is an absolute X factor. Absolutely.
Yep. Those guys are great players in their own right, but this guy is one of the best of all time. Last of all, well, he walked out on us for money. We don't want the trader back. Well, that's not entirely true either. He left for multiple reasons. Some we're privy to, and others we're not. And I didn't hear any of you whinging when Ottens and Dangerfield came to the club. So that's just utter hypocrisy.
And if Stephen Wells me double the wage to go to a different job, I'd do it.
And Stephen Wells' job is to improve the list. And anyone that thinks that adding Gary Ablett to Geelong diminishes the quality of the group is just dead set wrong. They're dead set wrong. You any further to add on that?
Nah, I love Gaz. Love him. Glad he's back. Glad he's going to.
I am too.
I did a little dance when the deal went through. Get on the game.
Yeah, I was stoked as well. All right, so Luke, we've got the Bombers this week. Now with the controversy that's happened there, I'm worried because the history of when a coach gets sacked at a club, they normally come out and fire up. So I'm hoping that that doesn't happen. I'm pretty sure it won't. So I reckon the Cats will probably win by 73 points.
Yeah. So my opinion on that is the other thing too is that, I don't know if you heard, but like Mike Sheehan interviewed Mike Fitzpatrick last night on TV, and he started bringing up all the drug saga and stuff like that again. So it will fire the Bombers up, but they're shit. So we're going to smash them. Pretty much. I'm glad we didn't get Stringer. They're shit. We'll smash them by 10. 10 goals easy.
Cats. All right. So now we need to name our podcast, and we would like you guys, our listeners, to help us with the title. So we're going to be running a poll, and we welcome any suggestions that you may have. So Luke, I know I have a few suggestions. So do you care to share?
Yeah, give me a second. What did I put?
Yeah.
Share yours first, man, while I find what I wrote. Sorry. I'll edit this. That's fine. What do we like from mine? Which one?
I think it was the cat chat.
Cat chat. Yeah. Yeah, so I had cat chat, kitty litter, or kitty in your herald. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My favourite from that is the cat chat. For me, a couple of suggestions being the KP rundown and one-eyed cats. So they're one competition. So we're going to put those suggestions in a poll. We'll leave the poll open so you can add yours. But if you like the ones we've got, just throw a vote. And we'd appreciate it because we're mad Geelong supporters, and we would like to hear as many listeners join us and share our experiences. So
also,
we'd like to thank you for watching the first episode. Oh, sorry, yeah.
Sorry, man. Sorry to cut in. Also, like topics. If you want us to talk about something, tell us.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Definitely. If you've got something on your mind that's cat related or AFL related, but we'd probably prefer just to be Geelong related, let us know. Obviously, with the I think everyone's got Curnow on the lips at the moment after they're getting off of their suspensions, but they might serve their time on Thursday. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We look forward to your feedback. Thanks, Luke. It's been a pleasure having a chat, and we'll return soon. Cheers.
Thanks, man.
And go Cats.